Hi, I'm Marie Hadley. I'm a lecturer in law at the Newcastle Law School at the University of Newcastle in Australia. So in this video, I thought I'd create a how-to guide to help you get started on your research essay assignments. Now, when I set research essays in my contract law course, about 2 weeks before the assignment's due, I tend to get a whole group of students coming to me telling me that they don't know how to get started on their assignments. They're literally struggling to get started, they're stuck. So this video is for you. It's for the student who is stuck and wants some tips and tricks for getting unstuck so you can start to work productively on your assignments. All right. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. My first piece of advice when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're not sure how to begin your assignment is to just literally stop. Take a moment, breathe, okay? Then maybe take a walk around the block or do some yoga, anything to help you relax. And then once you do feel relaxed, then you're ready to begin, okay? So you're starting to feel better already, hopefully. You sit down, then I want you to read the question, okay? Let it wash over you. Definitely don't start thinking about how you're going to answer the question yet. To me, that's a process that comes much later. So you don't want to put the cart before the horse, okay? So your first step is to just literally read the question and identify the area of law or laws that are implicated by the question, okay? So what area of law is the question pointing you to? All right, once you know that, you need to have a think. How much do you already know about that area of law? What do you know? What don't you know? Okay. If you know this area of law well, okay, it might be time for you to start beginning with your database searches. Time for you to start actually researching. But if you don't know this area of law well, you need to get up to speed on it because it is very, very difficult to do database searches and identify what journal articles are the most relevant, or even whether the journal articles are actually being written on the jurisdiction that you're writing on. Okay, when you don't quite know the parameters of the area of law that you're dealing with. Okay, so your goal at this early stage is to just improve your general understanding of the relevant law. In terms of sources or starting points, a good starting point might be a textbook. Okay, textbooks have very accessible language. They have the key cases. Okay, their footnotes are usually on point, okay, in terms of identifying the key primary sources of law and key contentious issues with that area of law. So first things first, go to the library, borrow a textbook, read it. All right. Another way that you might improve your general knowledge of a particular area of law is to go to a legal encyclopedia. All right, Halsbury's Laws of Australia, available through Lexis Advance, is my favorite. Now, legal encyclopedias are really useful because they're basically like a textbook in shorter form, okay? They give you all the primary key sources of law. They have the primary sources, the relevant ones in the footnotes, okay? It is an ideal point to get you started in a better understanding an area of law. All right, now a third place you might go to improve your general understanding of law is your course materials, okay? Might sound obvious, but if you haven't done the readings that canvass the area of law that you've identified that you're being tested on, you might want to do that, all right? So read the course materials, read the relevant cases, look at any overview materials or PowerPoints that your lecturer has given you, and watch any recordings for the class, for the classes that you've missed, okay? Now, after following these steps, you will now have a decent idea about the key principles, key primary sources in this area of law. Okay, and in terms of timelines, this could take you anywhere from a couple of hours to all day. Okay, but it is incredibly valuable work. All right, because now you have the knowledge to begin doing some more extensive, more detailed searches through the databases, and also to starting to think about the question with a little bit more of a critical eye. All right. Going back one step. All right. So in terms of what do you do next? Okay. So your next step is to start researching and trying to locate quality secondary sources, which to me, as your marker, as your potential lecturer, okay, is peer-reviewed sources. So at this point, I think it's pretty useful to return to the question and start thinking about it a little bit more deeply. What is it asking you? With what you've read so far, how might you construct your answer to the question? What do you think the thrust of your argument will be? Are you going to agree with the question, disagree with the question, sit on the fence? And also start thinking about the critical commentary you've read so far. Where do the commentators sit? Okay, do they agree, disagree, sit on the fence? What points do they raise? All right, so once you've started researching, you sort of start to develop your own ideas about how you're going to respond to the question, your own ideas about, you know, what the potential limitations of this area might be or reform options. But you also start thinking about the commentary and the ideas of others, okay? And at that point, I think it might be useful to start writing, all right? Start summarizing the articles that you're reading, the arguments that you're coming across, and that early, you know, start doing some of that early analysis of the primary materials, okay? Right. Now, once you've done that as well, sorry, I forgot to mention, once you've done that, you should start to have a better idea about what research you still have remaining as well. So as you're writing, you'll be able to see the gaps and then go again with some database searches. Okay. Now, the problem is you might still be stuck, okay? If you've put in the hours and getting to know the general area of law, you've started doing database searches and you're still confused and a little bit panicky, okay? I think once again, we need to come back to that very first point I mentioned to you. You need to slow down and you need to breathe, okay? Then you need to turn a bit of a critical eye on yourself, not in the sense of being negative, but more in terms of thinking about what the problem you might have here is, okay? What is the block? Is it your understanding of the law, of the critiques of its limitations? If it is, you might want to try and get your head around the materials in another way, okay, and what the question is asking you. So perhaps for you, it might be more efficient or more effective to read critical commentary and then go back to those early cases, then go back to those general materials like textbooks and encyclopedias, and then read back through it again, okay? Or perhaps for you, it's doing the research itself that you're finding a little bit tricky, in which case booking a consultation with your law librarian or going onto the library website and seeing if there's any subject matter guides. And by that, I mean the guides that the library puts out, which literally has in there, you know, how to do primary case research, how to find secondary materials in law, law-specific subject guides. And in those subject guides the libraries put out, it has in there recommendations for different types of databases to turn up different types of materials. So perhaps go to that and use that as a guide, because if you're not got the right type of databases, doing your secondary searches is going to be very tricky. Okay. Yeah. So think about what your block is, brush up, on your skills, and then just literally have another go. Okay. Research is a very organic process. You need to figure out what works for you. And when you hit a brick wall, you need to come at it from a different angle. So hang in there. You've got this. I believe in you. And if all else fails, email your lecturer and tell them that you need a hand. Okay? All right. Best wishes for getting started on your essay assignments. And that's it from me, Marie Hadley, lecturer at the Newcastle Law School, University of Newcastle, Australia.